would request Bharatji to speak on Shastra and the framework under which the Shastras are written and to be interpreted and so on. All yours, sir.
Is somebody sitting?
Stay. I hope I am audible right till the end of the room. Am I audible? Okay. But if some of you could come a little closer, it will be a little easier on my tiring throat. Okay. Anyway, I was scheduled to speak first, but I am glad because I'd like to make what I have to say a little attached and a continuation of this very nice, very informative and a talk which I am sure will lead us to very revised concepts of history. I am very glad to see. Thank you so much, Sumida. Now, I am going to talk about something which is not so tangible as the Mauryan Empire or archaeology or something which you see specifically or something which is even kind of talked about a lot. I am going to talk about things which have been put aside, like a Shastra. And you know the very word Shastra and the Shastra books and particularly Manu's Dharma Shastra, they have in modern India a very negative reputation. Now the question arises, what is a Shastra? The very question is, what is a Shastra? Why should we call one particular work a Shastra? For instance, Ramayana cannot be called a Shastra, Mahabharata cannot be called a Shastra because it does not conform to a particular methodology of composition and delivery. So the very first question is that what is this category of texts? I mean, all that we have heard is Manu's Dharma Shastra and this Dharma Shastra. We think of Shastra mainly in terms of Dharma, which means the edicts of Dharma. But you see, commandment is not Shastra. The most important thing. So, if the question is asked, Kimiti Shastra, what is this thing called Shastra? Then the answer is Shastram iti Shasanopayam. Shastra is Shasan Upaya. Shastra is an instrument of Shasan. And Shasan in Sanskrit does not mean just what it means in modern Hindi or what it means in Newton's Delhi or the lack of it. So, Shasan does not mean just administration. Shasan means how you approach a particular area of life, a particular science or art. See, how you govern it, how you conceive of it, and how you are going to implement. I am going to introduce you. You may think of me as an old Panditji just coming up with Sanskrit terminology, but you see, this is very important, this is very crucial, because all these terms are very clear in their definitions and they define the concept, and then you go from there. There are two terms which are used when we discuss things like Shastra. One is called Lakshya. Now, Lakshya, in modern Hindi means a target. But of course, target can also mean like India is a target for Pakistan. Something to go on hitting. But Lakshya means not just the target, but the direction in which we have to go and the action that we have to do. purpose. So let us define a purpose. You see, what is the biggest problem of modern disciplines? If you go to a modern university and if you go to an American university and you go into a postmodern studies department, they may be studying literature but talking politics throughout the day. They may not be studying anything what we used to call literature. Now this is absence of Lakshya. Lakshya was defined an area which has to be cultivated, an area of application of knowledge. For instance, she talked about Artha Shastra. Artha Shastra in this context just does not mean commerce. It means the whole state, governance of the whole state. And governance of the state includes thought. It also includes Vedas. You see the first line which encapsulates the whole of Arthashastra, Anvikshaki Trahi Varta Bandhaniti Iti Vidya. What is this Arthashastra? It is analysis, Anvikshaki, Trahi, the three Vedas, Varta doesn't mean television discussion. In those times it meant commerce and Dandini. Now when these four things will combine, they will make the Arthashastra, and Arthashastra is only for governance. The Lakshya of Arthashastra is governance or the state. So there is also a parameter for it. And you will not go beyond that parameter. You are not going to combine, Artha Shastra with Kama Shastra or Natya Shastra or Dharma Shastra. In those days we didn't have things like human rights which went into every area of life, you see. Today, somebody says, no, this is against human rights. The way you worship is against human right. The way you marry is against human right. You see, there are anything today can come under the ambit of human rights, and therefore under women rights or under children's rights. This whole concept of rights is something which does not obey or does not conform to the idea of a Lakshya. But there are certain areas which have to be dealt with in a certain manner. And when you had this particular purpose, this Lakshya in mind, which was an applicable thing. Arthashastra was not written just to be read and taught. It was read to be applied in governance. The kingdom had to be run with it. It was statecraft, and it is considered very important. And similarly the Greeks, they considered statecraft as a very high form of philosophical endeavor. Plato thought that statecraft is the greatest of arts, because you are making the state, and if you can't make the state, no other art, no other civilizational aspect can possibly survive. So therefore, Artha and Arthashastra is maintaining the state for a certain purpose. Then, apart from Lakshya, you would go into describing how that Lakshya was actually applied and how it is being applied. Not as it should be applied. It is not prescriptive. It is prescriptive. You see, this is the biggest mistake we made about Shastra. Lakshya is that area of activity or knowledge which you are concentrating upon for a certain social or moral or spiritual or erotic part of your life. Then how is that Lakshya pursued? That is the Lakshana. So when Shastra says collect only 15% tax, then it is not an injunction. Of course, there are at times injunctions, such as if a pregnant woman is walking, then the king should allow her to go first, not ask her to stop. Or if a very old man is walking, I don't know how much it was practiced, but at least this was the idea. Now, there are certain things that by and large, the Shastra was going to describe how things are done, and that is called the Lakshya. So we have three things: Shastra, Lakshya and Lakshya. Lakshya means how people are solving the problems of the universe, of pursuing the same. Certain suggestions may come in, but by and large, so when, for instance, she talked about, was there one single law? Well, yes, by and large there was one single law, which was called Shastrachar. And then there was also many other activities followed by people in certain regions, which was called the Lokachar. And it is said that you should have a combination of Shastrachar and Lokachar, and very often Shastrachar sometimes ceased to be in Shastra but continued to be in Loka. For instance, the practice among the Jats extend even today of marrying your brother's wife if brother has expired. This was neo practiced in very ancient times, and Mahabharata has the usual examples we know of neo, Vyas engendering children, and Amba and the other Greek queens. That was Shastrachar at that time. Those queens were made to follow the edict of Satyavati on the basis of Dharma Shastras, because Niyog was legal. Then in Manusmriti you find later on in various other texts, Dharma Shastras, that Niyog is Kalivarjit, and now it is not going to be practiced. It is to be thrown out. But Shastras throw it out, but Lokachar continues it. I give you a specific example, there are many examples. So Shastra was not mandatory, but yet let us not go into the other extreme, like Madhukeshwar wrote an article that there was no Smriti, one single Smriti. It's not true. There was a combination of Smritis which were practiced right from one end of the country to another. If you want more details, including epigraphic details, then you can read, I don't remember the title now, a work by Ramchandra Nagaswamy. Nagaswamy is one of the most eminent archaeologists and scholars of epigraphy and history, and he has given a whole legal history on this as to how it was practiced, where it was practiced, and how edicts were given. You see? So much for, but then my concern today is a little more, call it academic, to explain to you how these Shastras were particularly, essentially written. How were they transmitted? And why they were in that manner as we see them. Now, if you just go by the definition, Shastra Mati Shasanopaya, then you have this general definition, but then there have been Shastras and Shastras and Shastras. There have been very small texts which are almost like Sutra, like Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra is also a you had very huge texts like Natya Shastra, but then before Natya Shastra there was also a Nata Sutra. What was the whole system? How did they go about it? How did the text transmit itself? And why was the text composed in a certain manner? Now there is a tremendous continuity of this. There was a tremendous continuity of this, of purpose and activity right from very ancient times. Right from very ancient times to the latest of the Shastras. So, when there were certain very simple Shastras, what you did in Sutra, now I would explain to you how this was approached. In a Sutra, the Sutra was of course learned by heart. Most of the Shastras were also learned by heart. Because while there were manuscripts of everything except for Vedas, but as an activity, even Vedas were made into manuscript. Manusmriti mentions that there are people who read out of manuscripts and hence they are sinful. The idea was that you are going to have a sutra and then you will verbally expand on it. What is the method of expanding? And do you think the method is dead? वो अभी हिंदुस्तान में जिंदा है. शास्त्र को एक्सप्लेन करने का the method of how it is to be expounded is still alive. Where is it alive? It's not alive in any university department. It is not alive even in Kashi Vidya Peeth or any such place. There is one place where it is alive. Have you heard the Kathakaras? जो रामायण की कथा कहते हैं. अब जो बहुत बड़े रामायणी हैं वो क्या करते हैं? मान लीजिए कि रामायण की कथा हो रही है. रामायण कथा is to be done by, let us say, Murari Bapu. Although Murari Bapu doesn't follow this system strictly, but till about 30 years this was being done. And I have heard very great Kathakaras practicing. So they will start with one line. 8 दिन तक एक ही लाइन की कथा होगी, उसी का विस्तार होगा कि तुम राम दीन अनुरागी आयहु मोहि करन भड़ भागी. विभीषण उठते हैं सुबह और देखते हैं कि ब्राह्मण के रूप में कोई खड़ा है. वो पूछते हैं तुम कौन हो? तो पहला वो क्या सवाल पूछ रहे हैं? सत. वो सवाल क्या पूछ रहे हैं कि तुम राम दीन अनुरागी आयव मोहि करन बड़ भागी. This is the question he asked. Now for 10 days you will have an exposition on what is Ram. Many, not just the stories of Ram. Ramayati iti Ram, the one who plays is Ram, the one who makes you play is Ram. What is the place of playing and what is playing? Is that described as Leela? Is it described as Avatar? And this will be all substantiated from the text on which you are speaking. You will not speak like Derrida or postmoderns or our modern academics that you get it from. No, you will speak from the text. Tulsikat Ramayan only, or at the most Valmiki or some other Ramayans. But it is within the context of this that you are going to describe Ram. And then Bharavagi and Deen. And because Deen is very important for the whole concept of Tulsi's exposition and metaphysics and manner of bhakti, so for 8 days, this is how you will expect. This is the system of expounding on Sutra. You see, very often people ask me here in my university classes or elsewhere abroad, etc., that is there something alive of that system? And I said, yes, it is alive. It's very simple, and it can be done. And I have done it. I mean, I have 26 hours of lectures, and Kalakshetra, where I have expounded for 5 days, 5 hours every day on Natya Shastra. So I have taken the text and expounded on the text just this way. I don't go outside the text. I can make references to modern art or Greek art or this theatre or that theatre, but the fulcrum is the text. It's still now. You will ask me, your question would be, you have given a modern example from Ram Katha. Why should we believe that this was a system followed even up to that time? Where is the evidence? कोई प्रमाण है? Is there any particular text which talks about it? And now I am going to give you that evidence. You see, when I went to college, my teachers were not ever satisfied of telling me that there was no system of critical analysis of the text. There was nothing like, especially in literature, they would say, no, this is a Western system. We have it from F.R. Lewis, or we have it from certain other school of analysis in Western criticism. 7 types of ambiguity, that a poem is to be seen in this term and that term. India, they never had it. I believe them. But later on, when I started reading the text in original, then I found that this is not so. That hundreds and hundreds of texts were written in India under what is called the Vyakya system. Now, what is this Vyakya system? Vyakya is a system of expansion of knowledge and text and contraction of knowledge. You will have the term called Vyas. तो व्यास जी का काम है कि वो खुद तो दूर में पतले होते हैं, मतलब जो असली व्यास होते हैं, तपस्वी व्यास होते हैं, और सब्जेक्ट को एक्सपेंड. So they lead a life of mendicancy, but they expand and they go and speak all around the country, and they expand the text also. You see, knowledge is related in India to textual tradition, right from the Greek age. Okay? This is a fabrication that we belong to an oral tradition. We belong to the oral tradition because we use the tongue, because we use the dialogue, we use Vada Vivad, we use Samvad, we do all that, but we also have the text. So a Vyas is one who just doesn't go around talking and talking like a modern Swamiji or like a Subramaniam Swamiji, but who produces text, who collects text. That is a Vyas. Classic case, Mahabharata. It was one small collection, then it started growing and growing, and who added to it and then who expanded, that is all very well documented. I need to repeat it. That is Vyas. But then, once the text becomes very large, it becomes a problem because it needs a lot of time then. So what you do is samas. Make it concise. You cut out a lot of things which you say, okay, maybe we either make a separate book or we just throw it out and we bring in the essential. That is called the samas. And some of the huge texts are also samas of the earlier, much bigger text. Like Natya Shastra, which is 6,000 verses, is said to be a condensation of 12,000 verses. Dvadasha Sahasri was made into a Shat Sahasri, 6,000 verses text. It was reduced to half. They said, well, too many people have done research and taken PhDs, and most PhDs, it is worthless. So let us throw this portion out and retain this. Now, this whole process of samas and vyas, and then the text. How are you going to take the text and teach it? And first of all, make it meaningful. I am going to tell you the classic example which was followed by Acharya Abhinav. He says that, look, I am going to now write this commentary on Shastra, but how am I going to do the Vyakhya? What is the systematics of doing it? So he says, Upadeyasya Sampatha. This text, Upadeya text has come to me. First of all, I will prepare a proper part edition. All those words which are either wrongly written, because they had to copy manuscripts every 25 or 30 years, because they won't last. Of course, some kind of manuscripts, bhuj and indelible ink, they lasted. But most, especially the ones on Tadapatra, they cracked, and so 20 years, 50 years at the most, you had to rewrite it, and they'll make a mistake. Instead of ma, they'll write a sa, and then the meaning of the text will change. Like Ashadasya Prashama Divase. In Kalidas, if they say Prasham Divase, then it is the last day. Or if he makes a mistake and says Ashadasya Prathama Divase, if he puts a tha instead of a sha, and tha and sha are very similar letters. So if a mistake is made, but the meaning goes, the first day of the month or the last day of the month. Pratham Divase and Prasham Divase, last day of the month. So you have to make a correction in the text. Critical edition. Critical edition was done in India. It's not something which is a European art. It was, and Abhinav must have had his predecessor. It's now in 11th century that he is writing. So, Upadeyasya Sampatha. So the first is proper part. First, Sampatha, Upadeyasya Sampatha, Tadanyasya Pratikanam. And I am going to cross out the rest. Sputa Vyakhya Virodhanam. Now there are portions of text which are highly contradictory. Or there are traditions which are highly contradictory. Like Manu says, don't watch theatre. But Daksha says, theatre is divine. So what do I do? And within a text there are certain times things which are so Upadeyasya Sampatha Tadanyasya Pratikanam Sputa Vyakhya Virodhanam Parihar. So all those contradictions have to be removed in the context of the total text. You see, the idea that a single text is a total text. And if there are certain things which appear contradictory, then out of the greater meaning you should be able to explain the contradiction. Virodhanam Parihara. So the contradiction should be removed, but logically seeing the greater unity. All these texts were not meant for producing PhD scholars and yet more PhD scholars and more professors and more universities and having those universities politicized in right wing and left wing and middle wing. No. Because there was no political activity in any of either the universities or the ashrams or the gurukulas in ancient India. That's why we had such a successful university system. The king did not finance education, please. Maybe once in a while he went for a hunt and saw a beautiful girl like Shakuntala, married her off, and then later on, forgetting her, maybe he sent some money. But no, the system of support was entirely different. I don't want to waste time on what it was, the Yajmani system and how it was done. But there was no political interference, no political question. So, what did you do then? You wrote in a state of academic freedom. And therefore, when you were composing the text, you had constantly to see the practice. You were writing a Shastra. You had to see how the Shastra was being practiced, how that Lakshya was being practiced, how that art or science was being practiced. Anusarana of Lakshya, Lakshanusarana. How did you really go about it? So, because if it is a descriptive thing, then you are going to describe what's happening there. You were constantly taking things from what is happening. You know, I am amazed, absolutely amazed, when a scholar of such titanic reputation, Sheldon Pollock, says that Shastras were meant to prescribe, and the wily Brahmins were supposed to treat everyone with the stick of the Shastras. So I decided to look into Natya Shastra, and I selected 5 couplets where he says, आज तो नहीं लाया हूँ, I don't remember them by heart also, where he says that, look, I have given you these characteristics. This is how people do this particular art form or this sub-art form. But if I have left out something, please add. Just look around, see what's happening, and bring it in. This is Lakshanusarnam, which Abhinav Gupta also says that this is how I am going to analyze this text. I am going to do a vyakhya of this text on the basis of what I see. Is this text being applied or not by the dancers, the musicians, etc., etc. So, Lakshanusarana, Krishna Vaktavyamsha Vivechana, and then the portions which are very terse, linguistically very terse. And then there are certain things which are said again and again. Sangati Paunarutyana. It is said again and again. Now you know why we say certain things again and again. Well, not just because somebody may be a patient of Alzheimer, but because certain things are repeated as they are important. But why is one thing repeated, not this thing repeated, not that? And so it falls into the scheme of what is the structure of importance. What is most important, what is less important, what is even less important. In a value system of a particular application of an art, practice of a science, whatever may be your discipline that you have chosen, you have to see Sangati Paunaratyana. That why this particular thing is being said and why is it being said here in this context. When you follow all these things, then you are doing. The truth is that this was the Lakshanusarana, this was the practice at one particular time in India. I may be a Brahmin, I may be a vegetarian, but I have gone to a meat-eating person's shraddh, and I am the vehicle of taking that particular food to him subtly, and therefore I should eat it, and if he loved meat, I should eat meat. So in very, very ancient India, Brahmins enjoyed meat eating for 15 days. And that was mentioned in Manusmriti, and then later on, and various other, and then later on it was said, this is only these things, and for this purpose, not otherwise. So, see, if we do not understand how these texts were composed, then we enter into all these problems. That purify the text, change it. When you don't understand the very logic of why it was made into the penal system and in this particular manner. Why was tax forgiven for a category of Brahmins, the Shaut Brahmins, no tax on them? Because they were the people who were not allowed to keep food lasting for more than 3 days in their home. In other words, they were supposed to live in absolute poverty. For those who are living in absolute poverty, there cannot be any tax. But our modern day Ambedkarites, Mayawatiites, and JNUites, they only read just this line, that this category of Brahmins is exempt from tax and the Brahmin is exempt from tax. No proper reading, no collating, no Lakshanusarana, no historical reference, no reference to other texts, other law books or books of that genre. If it is law books, then books of law. If it is books on metallurgy, then of metallurgy, etc. So, the Shastra was a very, very comprehensive, effective system of transmitting knowledge. Shastras were the Shastra of Indian knowledge. They were the weapon of keeping knowledge protected. And the root Shas of the weapon and the Shastra is same. Hindus have to understand it today. If you want to get cured of this disease of Aman ki Asha, you have to read the Shastra. Thank you.
Questions?
But talking about the Manusmriti, there are so many versions prevailing. But when it comes to like reading correct version of some, how to one approach it? Because we see that there are multiple versions, and then there are certain slok which is defended by and certain that are ridiculed by. So this remains a problem in Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay, alright. Very briefly. You see, this is a problem which is created by westernization of language. Why? Most of the cardinal texts of the West were either written by one person or by, let us say, a teacher and a disciple. Like Plato. Plato wrote what Socrates must have spoken. So within 2 generations you had all these Phaedo and Crito and all these texts were, and within another 20-30 years they were written down, maintained, and they were part of an academia. There was a school. So this is the story, and the Greek texts are the model of Western knowledge. But no Indian text was written in 2 or 20 or maybe even 150 generations. It was written in a long time. Say, Manu is dependent on earlier sutras, Haritika. See, so many other Griha sutras. The Smritis are dependent on, even Artha Shastra refers to 4 more acharyas before Chandra. So that's why I didn't want to comment after your lecture, but it's wrong to say that this is belonging to one period and one school. All the texts are that survive today, they are the end of a sampradaya.
That is explicitly written in the Arthashastra course, and that is explicitly written in the Arthashastra,
Yes.
and he mentions all of them.
That's
He
how-
gives their precepts, and then he says, I agree with this, I do not agree with this, and this is what Chanakya says.
Exactly.
That is how the entire system of knowledge has
50
come
बार
about.
कहता है बीच बीच में इसके लिए ये उसका आदेश ये है उसका ये
And he gives his critique of the earlier gurus.
Exactly. Now that was the whole system of Purva